Good evening. Day Trader Rockstar here. I want to also do a little recording of this session right here because I want to go over some things that are very important in the market. And I'm here this evening here with our traders doing some overnight trading and basically kind of doing some research, getting ready for tomorrow, setting up some things on the emails. But always watching the markets, and as you can see the markets in front of me, I'm just looking. It looks like a spider's web, right? It's like, what the hell am I looking at? But this is during the day. We kind of fill these in as we go along. So when we look back at it, kind of a bird's eye view, it's going to look real busy. But as we go forward, we start to build out a new chart, it won't be as busy. But this is what we do. So I want to actually go over this because we're in the room here, and I want to give a shout out to all I do is win 1983. He's in the room. He said he's passed 10 evaluations over the last 3 months just using the quad rotation setups with stochastics and RSI. He says excellent strategy. And so I wanted to get a little bit more information on that because I felt like everyone needs to have that understanding of how things work, and someone might have a little edge, a little tweak that helps them get in. So I always kind of interview some of the traders who are in the room, just going back and forth. I just want to share some of his criteria. If you're out there, all I do is win. If not, I'm just going to read back and kind of go over that fast. He goes, the RSI using the same settings you're using in the stochastics have been working well too. He's at 6 to 8 ticks on the ES and he's out, so he's trading the ES. He enters when the 9-3 starts to curl up. Someone asked him in the room, do you like the 60-10 to start curling back up before entering? So the big thing for him, and this is what the video is going to be kind of focused on because I'm hearing more and more about this. I'm hearing a lot more about people just trading the quad rotation. And even though I consider quad rotation as a great thing, but I don't consider it a standalone best setup. I always feel like a divergence quad rotation is what I search for. It's where you have a quad rotation and then a divergence right after that. So they're all in a quad except the 9-3. In some cases the 14, you have a divergence. And those are the biggest moves. So I wait for those. That's the combination. But as we wait longer for those because it requires more things to add up, the quad rotation will eventually come around. And when we look at the quad rotation, as someone mentions here, what the quad rotation is doing, in fact, what it's great for is keeping you out of bad trades. Now, I always say look at a bird, not to go into the whole thing, but we're using 4 stochastic bands here. This is the 9-3, 14-3, 44, and the 60-10. We use a percentage D line as our signal line. We don't have the percentage K line on this. We don't need it. We don't use it. We use stochastics in just a couple different ways. The divergence momentum, the divergence reversal, the momentum confirmation with the 60-10 and the 20-20 flags, and then the quad rotation. And in some cases, what we call a coil. There's certain patterns that the stochastics will show you that we've seen over years and years and years of trading, and days and minutes and hours and thousands and hours looking at charts. We've noticed certain things that happen over and over again. So I'm able to identify those. I want you to be in them. You can see little divergences like this. So sometimes it is good to go back, and for a newer trader out there who wants to be successful, the key is not trade as much and to wait. So the good thing about the quad rotation, it's going to force you to wait. So let's just say that you were forced to wait only when the 60-10 got underneath 20. That's the only time you can start to look for a trade. And from at that point, most likely the 9-3, 14-3, and 44 will be down here. But it takes a while. As this thing is coming down, this will move up and down and up and down and up and down, and eventually they'll all come down to meet at the same time. And that's what's called a quad rotation right here. And from that point on, what all I do is likes to do is wait for that turn up on the 9-3, which is very good. It's a good strategy because it typically is going to give you like in this case, we zoom in here. It's going to give you a nice candle. That turn up is going to give you a nice candle. We talk about a Nike check mark lots of times in a stochastic. I look at the stochastic so much that if I see the aggressive move where it leaves a check mark, I know that's more of more violent of a move, and we're going to get a big move like here, this V bottom and stuff, versus a rounded bottom or something that. There's just every little aspect of stochastics I tend to pay attention to over years and years of studying them. But anyway, this becomes the best setup here when you have a little lip divergence on a low. You have a quad rotation, meaning that your 60-10 is oversold, your 44 is oversold, the 14-3, and then you have a divergence. That is my best setup right there. That is absolute my best setup. And, that's what I want people to get. So in some cases, you might not have a pure divergence. This one might get by you, even though I would consider it a closing price divergence with a high rotation on the 14-3. It looks like a pretty decent divergence to me, even though it just came down a little lower. And not everyone's going to take that because of just because it's not a typical lower low divergence. So you might miss that. So we won't count it. All right. But what I do want to count is understanding that if you're down here taking a quad rotation, meaning waiting for that 60-10 to get oversold, most likely you're very close to a move up. So it gets back down here. We're down here. Very close to a move up. Now, this is, now that we have let me see, we can go back here. He says he's also using a 300 tick chart. I don't want to miss some important information. And then he says, I've been a member since 2009 and forgot all about these setups. I revisited the strategy and I've been killing it. That's awesome. Thank you. So that's, I am hearing a lot about the quad rotation. So the quad rotation is great overnight. Because unless, we don't have the algorithms, we don't have the black box, we don't have the bots, the AI, anything that's kind of running mostly during the day when we have the big volume and the program trades and stuff, very difficult sometimes to get a pure move in the market, like just a nice wave of move, like the ocean is a wave coming in, the water going out, the wave coming in, the water going out, the wave coming in. We like the natural progression of the markets. And overnight, you're kind of not being affected by some of the things that move the market during the day. So sometimes we watch for that quad rotation. And if you quad rotate after hours, you know what? You sometimes have a better chance of actually just kind of getting in there, low stress trade, and just kind of riding it out for an hour. Now, this is great for European traders, people in Australia, 2 o'clock, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. That's what European Open. And you can see the volume here jumps up here drastically, and you tend to get good moves here. You tend to start to get divergences. Now, look at this nice pullback at 4:30. And again, we just got oversold, and we had a little lip there. And that little lip got a bounce, and then we kind of drifted a little higher, and then the beginning of the day came in. A lip here again. And what you might say, what is a lip, Johnny? Well, typically a big divergence when we have a downward trending market or a downward trend. There's two types of downward trends here. We have a large channel, one, two, right? So let's just break down this a little as the market kind of sells off here. But we have the bigger picture, which really is based off of that 60-10, the 5-minute time frame, even going out further, even that hourly time frame. We have the bigger move down, and inside the bigger move, we have a channel down, a slight channel up, a slight channel down, a slight channel up, etc., 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 a slight channel down. So we have these tight little channels. Inside these channels, you're going to have divergences, and lots of times you're going to have that downward channel right here, and you're going to have a lip divergence, which tells us that channel is going to break out. When that downward channel matches this downward channel, you have an X marks the spot, you have a quad rotation, and you have the best setup there. Now, you put that all together, it only happens, that's a perfect storm. It only happens, you can see it when it happens, because it doesn't show up like anything else. You know what you're looking for. It can't happen without it, happening. If that's a great, I don't know what I'm getting at, right? I mean, it has to set up with a low and a higher low lip. A lip is just a little tip back, but holding above the 20. Instead of going a big rotation up and then coming back, it's just a little bump, but it still maintains the divergence on the 20. So I call it the lip, and it happens a lot, and it's very sneaky sometimes, but now we've trained our eyes on it. that it's not as hard to identify, and I'm always looking for those, because inside the bigger picture here, hey Dan, inside the bigger picture, we're looking for that lip to kind of give us an understanding of, here we have the bigger trend, but now we got a move up. And then the same thing, we could eventually get to move down and a move up. And these big moves here are based off that 60-10, but we could really, narrow down when that's going to move. If you have a divergence, there's a better chance it's going to move on a quad rotation and make a big move. So it's very important to kind of stick to the setup. If you could stick to the setup and have the discipline and not trading, it's going to be boring. But imagine getting in here instead of, and feeling comfortable and confident and taking, 10 ES contracts. And again, with a prop account, no problem. You'll get to where you're going to get pretty fast. Very fast. Because you have a high probability zone. 9 out of 10 times it's going to work. All you have to do is put a stop underneath it. But you have to be on top of it. You have to wait for it. You have to get it. This is a classic example of one. This is a classic. They show up. That's what we do each day. Now, so whenever you're in a quad rotation, you have a better chance of moving. You have a better chance on the buy side of bouncing. Again, it weights down here. Everything gets down. You can see almost the lines underneath it all at the same time. Now, there's a technique here. If we go back and we take a look and we zoom out and we say, all right, let's look back here. Here we have one. Here we have one. Big move up. Here's a quad. And here's right where they all line up here. And yes, pretty decent move up. At least it's heading up. Here we had a quad and a divergence. And here's a big move up. Here we had a quad and a decent move up. So all those worked overnight right there. Now, what happens if we can't see what's going on here? There was some news, and that's Sunday night. That's Friday. Let's go to this point right here. All of a sudden, we have some overnight news, and the trend is aggressively lower for whatever reason. Maybe there's news out there. So you have, market here kind of rolling over and starting to get down here. So at one point, you're going to get what we call a quad rotation. At one point, they're all going to come down, and we're going to call it maybe right here. I would say this was probably my first quad rotation right here. Now, it's not a quad divergence, all right? Because, that would really kind of give us a bigger pop if it was a quad divergence here. But this took a while to get down, and I'll be honest with myself that this is now kind of a quad area. And if we zoom in here, you can see that this continued to push down, and you will get that news flow. So how do we know that? Let me zoom in here. So say you're about here, all right, and you get in here, and you start to get just a couple candles to the upside to the trend line, and it starts to fail here, and this does not even move, all right? Typically, when we start to see the 9-3 run out of steam, or it gets to 80, or up around 80, and your price is holding underneath the 20-period moving average, and this is underneath 20, it's the same rule we have when this is above 90 and it's pinned above 90. All right, when that's pinned above 90 and it's extremely strong, the same thing comes into play here. If it's pinned under 20, especially 10, the downward trend is it, and you should be selling every rotation. So once this kind of gets down here and does not get back up there, and you get your first rotation, your first fail, you might get a stop out there. You might just get a stop out there. And once you get that stop out there, and you're going to start to probably see that this is going to stay embedded. So you're kind of like, all right, this is kind of embedded. We got a rotation. You want to actually, really kind of start changing your understanding once that 60-10 is down here. You don't go against the 60-10. You know what happened today on the 60-10 trying to go short it. You just keep on getting run over. The same thing is going to happen here. Every rotation up to the 80 is going to give us that bear flag as this is stuck under. So that's a rule that's going to keep you out of trouble. So right now we know what works, and we know how to counter it if it doesn't work. If all of a sudden we have a quad rotation, but the quad rotation's the beginning of a serious sell-off and we never get a bounce, we could see that. We see it here when the rotation happened again, and it never moved. And this rotated fast. It happened here. It rotated up, stayed underneath the 20. The trend is down. We're underneath the 100. Let the chart talk to you. Don't try to reinvent something. Say this is all talking and this is all negative. So of course you're not going to take any divergences down here. If you even get a trigger in the divergence, you want to, and if you are for whatever reason itching to get in, you get a bounce, you take it off up against the 20. No questions asked. Why tempt fate? And when you have a downward move down here, typically a strong, I would not look to bounce, just recover on a bounce. We're typically looking for a bigger move to come out of a divergence on a move down like this. And as you can see here, we don't have a 9-3, but here you had, look at this. Right here you had the 60-10 at 7 o'clock, made a lower low and a higher low in the 60-10. We looked at this on the SPY, going back on Friday. This was at 7 o'clock on Friday. Let's just take a fast look at that. Well, that would be on the 5-minute. All right, here we go. What is today's date anyway? I don't even know where I am. Today's the 17th, so Friday was the 16th, 15th, 14th? All right, we'll call it the 14th. There it is. So you see this 9-3 up here? This was the 5-minute divergence. That was a higher rotation. There was a lower price on there. It was even a divergence came up on my script on the TC2000. And it gave you a nice move. And that's what we go to work for, to make this move. That's that's a nice move. It's a 20-point move in the ES. So remember that. Remember some of the key things to keep you out of, why some of the people are so successful is because they're, first of all, trading the quad rotation. And again, what does the quad rotation do? It keeps you steady, because this doesn't happen all the time. So only when it happens, now you have a situation where you get a quad rotation divergence. If you get a quad rotation divergence, that's what I would be taking. If I were going to make a bot, I would make it take a quad rotation divergence. Oh, you have one of those, Johnny? Yes. It's called the Supersignal. So the Rockbot, that is why I added the quad rotation to the Rockbot Supersignal, to identify these levels. Now, we could do it better because we have experience. I want you to have the experience. You can't just watch a video on fishing and understand what a fish is how you're going to set the hook and how you're going to do certain things until you get out there and hold that rod in your hand. That's my fishing analogy. I'm not going to go with a golf analogy, but I'm sure there's a great golf analogy out there for you golfers out there. But, certain things you got to eventually get into and feel. Seeing these divergences, understanding the market flow, feeling the market, kind of getting through it. But we have the tools here, and we understand that 60-10 is kind of ours here at Day Trade Radio. I mean, I've kind of put this quad rotation together and worked hard on determining what the levels were going to be, and that 60-10 seems to be pretty good. So I don't mind sticking with this, because it is a golden opportunity when you get an oversold level like this. Most of the time you're going to get nice bounces, and if you feel like your setup, if you're out there and you're trading Fibonacci's, you're trading MACDs, and you're trading RSI, anything you're trading, all of a sudden you say, oh, my signal is giving me a signal, and John's signal, the quad rotation is giving us a signal too. That's even better. That's even better for you. I want to put this on the video too. There he goes. Good call there. Good call. Trade Perfect calling out just saying, hey, take a look at the ES right now. We just took a look, and again, it's like we're on a safari and a big lion just came out of the woods or the brush. You had this nice little lip divergence here. We had a recognizable channel, and we had a quad rotation. So we're going to look for the move up, and just like we're talking to it, it comes to us. And we talk about the downward channel. And that lip was okay. Now, what I wanted to say is, not every time you're going to get in here and you're going to say, oh, that was a lip, let me get in now. Never get in when you're 60, you're 9.3, so many numbers in my head right now. The 9.3 gets above the 80 line, because it's just been a proven pullback zone. So you're kind of tempting fate at this point. Now, yes, it is a quad rotation, so maybe it's the bottom. Maybe this is going to end up looking back at this and saying, oh, another quad rotation bottom. But that was a trade that you probably should have took here at around 48 and gotten out at 49.5. Or at least moved your stop up to break even at this point. I would feel bad to chase it at this point, even though it does look like it's a good call. But I can't effectively chase it and then get in and then see it pull back and do that, and that would just crush me. But this, here's the rock bot. Rock bot took it. And if you run that rock bot, you don't have that emotion. Like I said, it gets you in. It doesn't. You know what? Let's put the rock bot on my account here. I want to put it on here, and I want to let it run tonight. As long as I'm here. See if we get, just in case. I might be talking and not get triggered into something, and I could just manage it. That's what we're going to do. So I want to put the rock bot on. And what I would do here is just follow this up with it. Well, it has a pretty decent trailing stop right now, so let's leave that. But again, there it is. That's the lip divergence signal. We got to think of a new name for this spot. The lip bot. The bot lip. The lip bot. No. All right. Well, that was my kind of lesson for today, is how important that quad rotation is, especially for overnight traders. We just had one, and we just had a live encounter with a lip divergence quad rotation and a channel breakout. It's up against the 200 right now. And we've kind of gone through there and showed you some of the important levels, and especially if you are seeing some selling and you get down here and it starts to stay down here, how to recognize that as that get out of your trade instead of staying in it and having confidence in it, because sometimes you will break down and you will see some selling coming in the market, and you're trying to buy the pullback. This is great. This came right back down. There was a little divergence here, a little pop. Again, these are also going to be fast trades. This went from 25 to 30. I want everyone to take the profits. Take profits on the 1 minute time frame, because that rotation, most likely is going to give you, anxiety over time, because you're going to have to. You're threading this type of trading here on the 1 minute time frame. We have to take consideration the bigger channels. So if we're inside of a bigger channel and have a divergence, you want to take it off here inside the bigger channel, because most likely it's going to come back down. You want to be in and out. This is our game on a 1 minute. On the 3 minute time frame, we probably have a little bit more time. On the 5 minute, we have a little bit more time. But this is our game. We're snipers here. I want you to get in. I want you to get out. I feel comfortable on a good quad rotation. Take a few ES trades. No, it's okay. Like I said, lots of times my issue is sometimes not seen in the chat room. I rely on our traders now that are able to recognize these things, to kind of, see them and kind of post them if I'm not on top of it. Look at that. So what just happened here? We just hit that 80 line and boom, went from 550 down to 548.5. We just dropped a point and a half. If you had a bad entry and you just got in here, you're back to break even, possibly negative. You have to have the discipline and not to chase once you get up to the 80. Don't feel like you're missing out. Buy into the weak. Start to see that and say, all right, you know what? I want to buy into the weakness. If you bought into the weakness down here, you're at 47, you get up to 50. That's a rock star trade right there. Just to get a point out of this. That's good. Even 3 ticks is doable on these little moves, which is fun, All right. The let's see. Current coupons are still available. I think they're good until the end of the month. I have that Oh, there we go. Had to push that back over there. The Bullinox 83% off. Apex, they're still doing the 1-day qualification, but with a 71% off. DTR Apex, and the Bullinox is DTR 83. I sent out a video yesterday, kind of helping people set those up. So you should have got that email. If you need help, just come into the room and shout it out. There's a lot of people in here. I will send this video out into the Netherlands, and let's continue trading right now. And that also, I'm going to add those. I want to add those alerts to the. That's why I do use the quad rotation alerts on the Voxer, the Trade Alert network. So I will continue to use those.